In a quaint village nestled at the edge of a dense forest, the townsfolk lived in harmony with nature. The forest was a place of wonder and mystery, but also a realm of caution. Parents warned their children never to venture too deep into its depths, for there were secrets lurking within its ancient trees. One summer's eve, as the sun began its descent, a young girl named Hannah disobeyed her parents' instructions. Filled with an insatiable curiosity, she set off towards the forest's edge. She bounced with each step as her eyes sparkled with excitement. The forest welcomed her with open arms, whispering tales of hidden treasures and magical creatures. Hannah's laughter danced amidst the trees as she skipped along the well-worn path. The sound of chirping birds and rustling leaves accompanied her, creating a symphony of nature's embrace. As the evening progressed, the forest's demeanor changed. The once familiar path grew twisted and unfamiliar. Shadows stretched and twisted, and the playful breeze turned into a chilling whisper. Hannah felt a shiver crawl down her spine, but dismissed it, convinced that her adventure would only lead to extraordinary discoveries. The forest grew dense, swallowing the sunlight and casting an eerie gloom upon the woodland floor. Hannah's steps became hesitant, her earlier confidence giving way to uncertainty. A sense of foreboding settled upon her small frame, but her determination propelled her forward. Deeper and deeper she wandered, her heart pounding in her chest. The symphony of nature's creatures fell silent, leaving behind an oppressive silence. The towering trees loomed like sentinels, their branches entwined above, forming a canopy that obscured the sky. The air grew heavy with a palpable tension, as if the forest itself held its breath. Time seemed to blur as Hannah ventured deeper into the woods, her path illuminated by the shimmering moonlight. As the minutes turned into hours, a sense of unease settled in. Hannah's heart ached for home, for the comfort of her parents' arms and the familiarity of her village. She yearned to feel the grass beneath her feet and hear the laughter of her friends. The enchantment of the forest that once captivated her had now turned into a prison, its allure fading into a cruel trick played by the forest. Determined to find her way home, Hannah attempted to retrace her steps, trying to find a familiar path that would lead her back home. But as she ventured deeper into the shadows, the forest twisted and turned as if it were intentionally leading her astray. Panic gripped her small frame as she realized she was lost, entangled within the labyrinthine of the forest. Fear welled up within her, tears streaming down her cheeks as she called out for help. But the forest swallowed her cries, echoing them back in mocking whispers. Her voice was lost, silenced by the vast expanse of trees. Days turned into nights, and nights blurred into days as Hannah wandered aimlessly through the forest labyrinth. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, and exhaustion weighed heavily upon her. She just wanted to sleep. Back in town, Hannah's parents, Sarah and Michael, were extremely concerned because their daughter had not yet returned home. She was supposed to return 4 hours ago, and they knew they had to do something. Word quickly spread through the town that Hannah had not returned from the forest, and a search party quickly formed. Armed with lanterns, flashlights, and determination, the group ventured into the forest, their voices echoing through the trees as they called out Hannah's name. They combed through the underbrush, scanning every shadow, every nook and cranny, hoping for a glimpse of the girl they loved. But as the hours stretched into the night, hope began to wane. The forest seemed to mock their efforts, the dense foliage swallowing their calls. Desperation etched deep lines on the faces of Hannah's parents as they trudged through the labyrinth of trees. As dawn broke, Sarah stumbled upon a clearing, her heart skipping a beat at the sight of a small, delicate shoe half buried in the undergrowth. Her hands trembled as she picked it up, her mind spinning with a mix of relief and dread. Her daughter's shoe confirmed her worst fears, that Hannah was indeed lost within the forest's clutches. The search party continued their relentless pursuit, but their spirits quickly became burdened with uncertainty. Each passing moment deepened the sense of despair as the forest seemed to taunt them, rearranging its paths and leading them astray. As their hope diminished, so did their strength. Their calls for Hannah, filled with desperation, echoed through the forest, and their calls continued to go unanswered. Sarah and Michael were extremely exhausted but refused to give up. The forest had taken their daughter, and they would not rest until they found her. As the days turned into weeks, the search party dwindled. Some returned to their families, unable to face the possible truth, while Sarah and Michael continued their search. They scoured every inch of the forest, their determination unwavering, even as their fellow townspeople urged them to accept the unbearable truth. One morning, while Hannah's parents went to the forest to search for their daughter, Sarah stumbled upon a small weathered journal hidden beneath a mossy log. She recognized it instantly. It was Hannah's cherished journal, filled with stories and sketches that reflected her vibrant imagination. The entries told a tale of wonder, of the forest's allure, but also of a growing realization that Hannah had become entwined within its embrace. The journal spoke of enchanting creatures and mysterious pathways, but also of a darkness. As Sarah continued reading entries, her tears stained the pages. She is beginning to accept the possibility that her daughter may be gone forever. Several months had passed, and the people in the town had long mourned the loss of Hannah, but life continued. One autumn afternoon, a hiker began approaching a trail leading into the forest. He caught a faint glimmer of an object near the outskirts of the forest, slightly buried beneath a blanket of fallen leaves. The item was retrieved, and it was later discovered to be Hannah's smartphone. The phone was returned to Hannah's parents, which gave them a glimmer of hope. Even though several months had passed, perhaps the smartphone held clues, fragments of information that could unravel the mystery and bring them closer to finding their lost daughter. Sarah and Michael clutched the device, their hands trembling with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. They were filled with both excitement and dread at the prospect of uncovering what had become of Hannah, while giving them a glimmer of hope that she was still alive. Hannah's parents plugged a charger into the phone, hoping the phone would come to life. Approximately 15 minutes later, the phone's screen flickered, revealed a familiar lock screen adorned with a photo of Hannah. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as she remembered the light that had once filled their lives. Many of their neighbors had gathered at their home after finding out about the discovery of Hannah's smartphone. As Hannah's parents began searching through the phone, images capturing the essence of Hannah's vibrant spirit appeared on the screen. Smiling faces, playful adventures, and snapshots of everyday life filled the early pages. But as Sarah continued to swipe, her heart sank with each passing image. Among the familiar scenes, a disturbing shift occurred. The pictures became increasingly darker, revealing glimpses of Hannah's journey in the forest. Blurry snapshots captured gnarled trees and tangled underbrush. The serene smile on Hannah's face began to wane, replaced by a haunting sense of unease. Sarah's hands trembled as she scrolled further, unable to tear her eyes away from the nightmarish images that unfolded before her. The forest transformed into an ominous backdrop, its towering trees morphing into twisted, contorted figures, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. Images of Hannah grew increasingly distressed. Her once bright eyes now reflected fear and confusion, her youthful innocence marred by the harrowing ordeal. Sarah's heart clenched with every glimpse of Hannah's anguish, the realization of her daughter's torment, plunging her deeper into a pit of despair. Then, among the chilling photographs, a sequence caught Sarah's attention, a series of shots taken in rapid succession. They revealed Hannah frantically wandering through the dense foliage, her expression a mix of desperation and confusion. The forest seemed to distort around her, its shadows elongating and shifting. In one particularly chilling image, Hannah appeared disoriented, her back pressed against a tree. Her gaze met the camera with a haunting intensity, as if pleading for help. Her expression a silent scream frozen in time. As Sarah continued to stare at the image, her eyes widened and she gasped in horror. Michael grabbed the cell phone from his wife's frozen hands, and as soon as he looked at the image, terror took a hold of his body. He dropped his head, and the phone fell from his hands. The last image captured by Hannah revealed the true horror of her disappearance. Standing behind the tree that Hannah's back was pressed stood a tall, dark figure. The image was too dark to reveal the figure's identity, but it appeared to be watching Hannah, as if waiting for the moment to take over its prey. Sarah and Michael stood in shock and silence, staring at the smartphone that had become a witness to Hannah's torment, capturing the subtle and chilling transformation that had befallen her, and more disturbing, the horrible fate that awaited her behind that tree. At that moment, Sarah and Michael knew they would never see their daughter again.